So in my opinion, the Discovery 4-20 amongst their line has some slight advantages over the 5-25, 6-36, 3-15. There's nuanced differences between these. And there it is. One of the things I like about it is the footprint comparatively. I've got some really high rings on here right now. It's just because those are the rings I had sitting around and I threw them on there. They are Discovery rings and they would work well on some other platforms. But with the 50 millimeter or 52 millimeter objective on this, I don't need quite as much space between, or I don't need quite as tall rings rather, because I have more space between here. So I can kind of get closer to the barrel sometimes if you care about barrel gap. If you're shooting a more hunting rifle or plinking rifle and you're not super concerned about mirage, then I think sometimes this has an advantage. It is lower weight, it's lighter weight, it's a smaller footprint in general. And so I kind of like having the smaller footprint and still having a lot of elevation inside. 20 is easily enough to shoot beyond 1,000 yards, guys, so far beyond 1,000 yards. I've used 15 power at a mile. I don't think you need quite as much magnification as you sometimes think so, but occasionally you do need a lot of elevation with at least some usable magnification. And this guy, I was just shooting on 7 power. 12 power is really good most of the time, even at 1,000 yards with center fire. That's just fine. And on a nice sunny day, the image is still really good. I don't have to worry too much about mirage. I can back it down to 10 power, and usually that eliminates mirage by that point. And then additionally, something that some people might like about this is the parallax does go down a little closer than the 5-25 and the 6-36. This one goes down to 20 yards. So if you needed something that could just be inside of that 25 yards, you're using it for hunting again, or just closer pest control, maybe air guns. You're shooting them on air guns, which is an application I would actually have. You could even run this a little closer than 20 yards by simply backing off magnification, and it will reduce some of the perceived parallax error or just some of the issues with getting your eye in the right place. I just think it helps. So being able to go down below 25 yards is a win for me, and then I can still run it out to a few hundred yards really reliably. I have lots of elevation, 0 MOA built into this, and I still have in the turrets 16.5 that I would actually use. And then in the reticle, there's at least 10, 11 in there that I can functionally make work with this, even when I'm dialed out to the ends of range. When I'm shooting, that close, it's not going to be foggy or blurry for me. Most of the time, it's very, very good. So 16 plus the 11 in that neighborhood, at least 25 mils. That'll get you out really far. And if you needed to hold a little more, or you wanted to get more out of it, all you would need to do is put a 20 MOA base on whatever you're shooting, 30 MOA base. This optic will handle at least the 20 with still a pretty good image and a 0 at traditional distances. And I find that helps you get and extract as much elevation as you can out of these optics and still have a reliable image and use that reticle and not worry about some of the minor distortions you get on budget optics. All right, it is fairly windy, but at 300 yards here, almost on the dot, 300 yards, probably 299 from where I'm standing, I will throw a few Aguila 40 grain at 300 on some steel. You may or may not hear it, but that's really not my point. I mostly want to just talk through why I like this reticle and why this really works out on lower powers. I'm going to shoot this with my 22. Thank you to Bear Creek Arsenal and Kid Innovations for sending these out to the channel. By the way, I'll shoot it on 12 power. At 300, I'm still going to have lots of reticle. I still have some dialing if I need to get a little more elevation in there because of the cold weather. So I'll monkey around with that a little bit here at 300 or 299 on some steel. Maybe you'll be able to hear those hits, and I'll talk through some things I like. Okay, wind is taking it to the right. So I'm going to hold, because it's got nice bold lines. The Stadia has some bold holdovers. I like that. I can contrast well, even on a black target. So I'm going to hold 2 mils of wind because it's pretty steady down there. There it is. Yep. Try for a smaller target. There it is. I'm sure you can't hear the really thick targets. They're just too thick, and that happens to be semi-mild steel that I was shooting at for the smaller targets. But you know what? It's pretty reasonable. I can see my misses easily, even in grass. Not in the sand, in the grass. I can see those. It's a good, clear image. I just don't think I need the 5-25 to do stuff like this. Technically, I don't need the 4-20 to do stuff like this, but it gives me some of the advantages where I do have more magnification. I have a little bit smaller footprint. I still have lots of internal elevation. I can get a parallax that goes very, very close or very, very far. There is illumination if I decide I need it, but probably more importantly, it has a reticle that I can get behind that I like, that contrasts well, and it's not hard for me to find where I'm holding in my tree because it's not so faint. It's a nice, bold, clear, and thick enough stadia that really, for me, getting on smaller targets is still really easy. It's not obstructing field of view, but it's functional. I like that. I probably wouldn't push this stadia in this kind of glass past 10 mils, 11 mils. I think that's about the appropriate portion. If I was to push this to the extreme ends of range and then try to hold over down there, a little bit of distortions, you'd start seeing a little ring of something, but I don't see a bunch of chromatic aberration or ugliness in the image. This is a really good scope at the price point, and you can get them a little cheaper than the 5-25. So still highly recommended. If you haven't looked at them yet, maybe watch my video where I reviewed this and shot it much, much further.